नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming for the class. Hare Krishna. And many of your exams just got over or getting over. So were there going on. Any master's exams are easy, right? That's what someone was saying. Huh? Copy paste. Yeah. No? Okay. There's some sincere students. Okay. Sorry? No problem. You can just- So we are doing the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Did you do some revision?
No, I just started when you. I
Okay. Maybe you can push this TV back because I don't know what is being shown on TV. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So any quick points from last time what we were discussing? Yes, Prabhu.
We discussed that for self-realized, we spoke about self-realized souls and how desires. That person realized that desires are coming because he's in the material world, and that material sense pleasure is on a superficial level and has a limit to it. And then that the living entity wants unlimited happiness, and material pleasure, sense pleasure, does not have the capacity to fulfill the soul. Hence,
Right, okay. One point. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. Prabhu is speaking another. It's false.
being said is said for the body, not for the soul, and he is the soul, not the body. So if there is any bad thing that people say about him or any praise he gets, it's all for the body, not for the soul.
Very good. Yeah. So self-realized yogi, he understands because he identifies not with the body but with the soul. He can easily, understand when people say anything of this material world doesn't affect him because he knows everything is being targeted towards the body. I'm not this body, isn't it? Very good. Anything else from last time? Yes.
We should let go of the superficial pleasures to be happy and then to get the spiritual.
Okay. We should let go of superficial pleasures for spiritual pleasure. Okay, very good. Thank you. And anyone can give example of superficial pleasures? Yes, Prabhu.
anything that pleasures the senses.
Okay, anything that gives pleasure to the senses. What about prasadam? Mm,
It can be spiritual.
it could be spiritual. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Can you give an understanding of superficial pleasures?
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Okay, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Very good. Thank you. Anything else? Superficial. There's so many things. Watching movies. Not if it's Little Krishna. Okay, playing games. Okay. Sports. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Superficial pleasures. And why do you call it superficial? Why are these pleasures called as superficial?
They won't last forever. Temporary nature.
Yeah, because they don't last forever. First of all, as soon as we talk about material pleasure or happiness, you can immediately ask two questions. What are the two questions? How much and how long can you have it? Hmm? How much pleasure can you derive from something that is material, and how long can you enjoy this pleasure? Both are limited. Hmm. So therefore, in the scriptures, it is mentioned the nature of the soul is it is atyantika sukha pravritti. We are all constantly putting endeavor in this world to become as happy as possible. Has anyone reached the summit of happiness? No. Because even if you gain the whole world, you still want to be more happy. It never ends, isn't it? Why? Because material happiness always falls short of internal spiritual happiness. So that is called as Atyantika Sukha Pravritti. And to increase happiness, one other thing we do is Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti. You reduce distress. So you expand happiness, you reduce distress. And this is what we are doing since childhood, isn't it? We want to expand happiness and try to reduce distress as much as possible. Yes, so therefore, superficial pleasure means it's limited pleasure, whereas spiritual pleasure means, or spiritual happiness is oceanic. In the scriptures, the word used to explain or used to describe the volume of spiritual happiness is ocean. How big is ocean? It is vast. It is too deep. Cannot be measured. You can get an approximate value, but you can never understand how big the ocean is. Similarly, the spiritual happiness, the reservoir of all pleasure, the name used is Rama. Rama means Ramante Yogino Anante Chidatmani Satyanande Chidatmani. That means Rama. Once you say Rama, that means reservoir of pleasure, as much as possible. There is no end to that reservoir. That is Rama. So this is the nature of the soul. Anandamaya Abhyasad, Vedanta Sutra says. So therefore, last time we discussed on the topic from pleasure to happiness. Can anyone explain what is difference between pleasure and happiness?
Pleasure is something
Hare
that
Krishna.
has a start and an end point,
Okay,
whereas happiness, it is eternal.
it is eternal. Okay, okay, thank you. Anything more?
Pleasure is something that you feel or observe through senses. And happiness is from within.
Okay, very good. Yeah, pleasure is something on based on the senses. And what are those senses through which you can feel pleasure?
Eyes, ears,
Okay,
skin, touch.
okay. I think there's one more.
Jnanendriyas.
Gyanendriyas. There's one more. One more sense. Maybe you can just turn on some sort of ventilation. You're becoming very stuffed because as the heat increases, my throat gets dried up. I can stop speaking. I hope you guys don't mind. Little should be on the cooler side. It's 83. Yeah, yeah, 74. Some. Yes. One more sense through which one experiences pleasure, which is on the material platform. You all have it. Huh? Sorry? No. My God, Adokshu, come on. Sorry? Yes, very good. Mind. Though mind is subtle, it is still material. So the pleasure experienced through mind is also material pleasure. Hare Krishna. Seeing you after a long time. Prahlad says something very interesting. I'm not sure if you can digest it, but I will anyway say it. Yan maithunadigrahame sukam hitucham kanduti karayor dukka dukkam tripyanti neha kripana bahu dukka bhaja kanduti manasijam. Manasijam means born of the mind. Vishaheta dhiraha, like that Prahlad says. So what does this verse mean? Prahlad is telling, he is saying that yan maithunadi grahamedi sukham hi tucham. Actually, this whole world is going after one particular pleasure. There are so many kinds of pleasure, but the pleasure of all pleasures, the king of all pleasures, is huh? Kram. calm. This pleasure. No, that's not pleasure. Pleasure is on platform senses. The king of all pleasures is, say it, huh? Bodily pleasure of all that, all kinds of bodily pleasure. There's one on the top, the king wearing the crown. You know it. It's an open secret. Sex pleasure. So Prahlad says the sex pleasure is the king of all kinds of pleasures. The whole world is moving because there is sex pleasure, Prahlad says. And then he says, but this pleasure is tucham for a spiritualist. That means very insignificant. It's like comparing $1 for $1,000. It's nothing. Spiritualist is having $1,000. $1 you don't care, you give it. Hmm? So he says, Kanduti van karayoriva dukkha dukkam. And this pleasure only, he calls sex pleasure as itching an itch. When you have an itch, you itch with the hope that it will satisfy. What will it satisfy? He says, no, you keep scratching the itch. What happens? You bleed. One is trying to itch the itch to stop itching, but itching the itch only created further itching. So he says, therefore, karayoriva dukkha dukkam. Kandu tripyanti na iha kripana bahu dukkha bhaja. Never being satisfied, he becomes a miser because he fails to understand what is the goal of human form of life. Tripyanti na iha bahu dukkha bhaja. Kripana bahu dukkha bhaja. And kandutivan manasijam. Because a materialistic person doesn't understand even this pleasure is born of the mind. It is not actually pleasure. It's just imagination. Like say there's one person walking with long hair. You're only seeing from the back side. There's long hair, some golden hair and a shapely body. So the boy is getting attracted. When he taps the shoulder, is actually another boy with a mustache and beard. So such a fool, isn't it? You feel I was fooled like this. How badly was I fooled by Maya? So therefore, this is just in imagination all the pleasure is. And therefore, last time we were also discussing something about Shruti Sukha. You remember Shruti Sukha? No? The word Shruti Sukha means happiness you get by hearing. When you hear, let's go to Times Square or let's go to Disney World. How many of you been to Disney World here? Okay, only one. Okay, so next retreat we are going to have in Disney World. Haribo. So you feel, okay, Disney World, kya karenge? We'll go there, we'll go here, we click photos and this and that. But when you go there, there's so many other difficulties. But Shruti Sukha means when Disney World falls in your ears, you feel, wow, kya baat hai. So this is Shruti Sukha. By hearing, let's go to Grand Canyon, let's go to California. So you feel very delighted. But that's all called as Shruti Sukha. Happiness by hearing only. Because when you go and experience, when you go to when you have to go to Disney World, is first of all flight charges. Now not sponsored. So full flight charges. Then when you land there, cab charge and hotel charge. Disney World is not free, by the way. You need to purchase a ticket. So by the time you have spent so much money and for the amount of pleasure they're trying to give you, you feel that I should have better stayed in New York. Attended Gita class on Sunday. Everything is free there, isn't it? So this is called a Shruti Sukha. Similarly, in this world, all kinds of material pleasures are Shruti Sukha. They only sound nice to the ears. But when you experience them, little happiness, abode of distress, isn't it? Not a good investment. So in this way, we understood what is pleasure. Pleasure is on the bodily platform, and more a person keeps pursuing material pleasure, more one loses focus in his life. So therefore, what verse were we discussing last time? Ye hi samsparshaja bhoga dukkayo naya evate adi antavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. If you are intelligent, Krishna is telling Arjuna, an intelligent person doesn't focus or pursue such type of pleasures. Not that people don't want happiness. They don't want pleasure. They do want, but not this kind of happiness that has beginning and an end. What kind of happiness? Unending, ananda. They are looking for happiness which never ends. And therefore, spiritualists are doing tapasya. And in fifth canto, there's a description when you perform divine tapasya like chanting Hare Krishna. How many of you chant regularly here? Okay. So when you chant in the morning, you have to get up a little early. Sometimes we have to practice sattvic diet, and we also have to have good association. You don't want to have association of people who tell you don't chant. You want to have association of people who tell you chant more. So when you're chanting and practicing spiritual life, Krishna says in the 18th chapter of the Gita, it's sometimes like poison in the beginning, but nectar in the end. Sense gratification is nectar in the beginning, but poison in the end. Which is better? Poison in the beginning or poison in the end? Okay. Sorry, I should have asked nectar in the beginning and or nectar in the end. In the end, we want to end with nectar. When you take prasadam, you want to end with sweet, isn't it? Because the sweet taste remains. So when you're chanting Hare Krishna, that is tapo divyam, austerity, but it is divine austerity for Krishna, austerity for Krishna. When you're giving donation, it hurts the heart when you're putting it in the hundi. And if it's not putting, please give more. You're not giving enough. But when you're giving, it's pinching your heart, but you're giving, it's tapo divyam. When you're sitting down, your legs are hurting, your mind is saying, just let's go. Upar bhi class ho raha hai. Aram se, you can sit, and they end at 7:30. This fellow keeps going on. But it is tapo divyam, divine austerities. And Rishabh Dev's point of view is tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet. First result is heart gets purified by tapo divyam. Not any austerity. Austerity for progressing in Krishna consciousness. First one is shuddhyet. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet brahma saukhyam tvanantam. And second result is you get something called as Brahma Sukha. Brahma Sukha means spiritual happiness. And how much? Anantam, unending. So if you want unending happiness, we have to invest in divine austerities. And unending happiness, spiritual happiness is not cheap. If you go to a market, you will not get it. If you ask some Dongi Baba, you will not get it. If you imagine your spiritual process, your spiritual life, just based on imagination, I think I'm spiritual because I don't eat meat, not sufficient. Just imagination of a spiritual process will not help. By following bona fide authority, bona fide school of thought, Krishna's words, then we are entitled to get Brahma Sukham. And that is Brahma Saukhyam, unending happiness. So we discussed all this last time, and today we'll continue. Oh yes, Prabhu.
You said about losing focus. So, did you only mean spiritual focus?
Focus on the goal of life.
Spiritual focus.
Yeah, no, even material focus. You know why people, even materials, don't have focus? Because they're so addicted to sense gratification.
The focus might not be a function of success then, because some of them might not have focus in life, but they're still successful. Materially, of course.
That depends on what your definition of success is. I don't consider any materialist as successful.
Okay.
Yeah. So real success is to come to Krishna consciousness. That's Krishna's definition.
When you talk about focus, like what is the
Yeah. Basically, focus means whatever you want to do, you will not be able to do it, whether it be material or spiritual. More our minds get addicted to sense gratification, more the mind becomes restless. Like a child whose parents keep feeding whatever the child wants, keep giving whatever the child wants, such a child will never learn good manners. Similarly, our mind, you keep feeding it whatever it wants, it will become more and more restless and fickle. So therefore, focus in either material or spiritual life, however you want to take it, will not be there. So samadho, that samadhi will never come for such a person. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So now we'll continue. No, focus means you're not able to invest your concentration on the task at hand.
Means you can in the task at hand if you're focused, right?
No, I'm saying that when someone does sense gratification,
You're focused on sense gratification.
no. So let me repeat my statement. I was saying that when one becomes addicted to sense gratification, then even if keeping spiritual life aside, if someone tries to study, he cannot study because the mind is diverted by sense gratification.
If they're addicted to sense gratification, they can't focus on what they want.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we did all this. Okay, we'll start from 5.23. शक्नोति हैव यः सोढुम् प्राक्शरीरविमोक्षणात् कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगम् स युक्तः स सुखी नरः. Who has the mic? Read. Read.
Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
Yes. So in the previous verse, it was being mentioned a person who is very wise, an advanced yogi, doesn't take pleasure in material sense gratification. So what does he do when material desires come? He tolerates them. But you can say, Prabhu, but tolerance, how long should we tolerate before giving up this body? Yeah. I haven't shared it. We just saw you. Just a minute. Let me just share the screen. Yeah. So how long should we tolerate material desires? Till the end of one's life. And what is the benefit? Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of material senses and check the force of desire and anger, what happens? He is well situated in this world and the next. So people think by fulfilling desires I'll be happy. It's actually the opposite. By restraining senses from fulfilling material desires, one will be happy. But the problem is we have practiced so much trying to fulfill our desires, getting what we want. Now when we don't get it, it feels big austerity. It is very distressful when I don't get what I want. So that is the problem. So Krishna says, advanced yogi, he tolerates. That means advanced yogi also gets the thought of material desire. But the difference between advanced yogi and all of us is he tolerates for keeping focus on spiritual goal, and we try to fulfill it. And trying to fulfill it not only has meager gains in the end, but also takes lot of endeavor, takes away your time, and by the time you look back, look at your watch, you only have 1 year to live. Where's your spiritual life? Spiritual life is gone. So therefore, we have to tolerate the urges. And Sri Rupa Goswami says, with respect to urges, there are six kinds of urges. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jivva vegam, udra upastha vegam. Six urges. He defines urges, or he classifies them as six of them. First one is vacho vegam, this urge to speak. When something else is going on, we have a tendency to put our nose in someone else's business and give our opinion. No one asked for your opinion, but still urge to speak. More we speak without being asked to. Thank you very much, Prabhu. I hope it's not cold. Normal. No? More we speak when we are not asked to, more our words lose value. More we are grave with respect to our speech, speak only when asked, more our words have value. Isn't it? Because valuable words are not found here and there. Wasteful or worthless words you'll find everywhere that you don't heed to. So first one is urge to speak, vacho vegam. And more we keep speaking, for speaking there is vayu. All the functionality of the body are carried out by airs in the body. There's prana vayu, apana vayu, udana vayu, samana vayu, and vyana vayu, and five other subsidiary, another set of five vayus are there. They run all the functionality in the body. So if I have to speak, my prana has to be active. People with weak prana, they cannot speak strongly. Or to the degree your prana is very strong, to that degree your voice, your force of speech will be very strong. So therefore, when we keep speaking a lot, unnecessary, useless things, have you heard of the saying, empty vessels make much noise? Why? Because nothing here, so keep speaking. Or those who keep speaking, they don't generally think so much. Because when you keep speaking, your prana is agitated. As soon as your prana is agitated, or you're breathing, the force of the movement of prana, immediately your mind is agitated, or the mind becomes restless. When the mind is restless, how can you think deeply in life? Isn't it? So therefore, vacho vegam. Vacho vegam, manasa vegam. Manasa vegam means control of the mind, urge of the mind. Mind is always pushing us, go in this direction, enjoy in this world. But you have to control that urge, manasa vegam. And then manasa krodha vegam, urge of anger. Then comes jivva vegam, the urge of the tongue. And it is said, urge of the tongue is the strongest urge. And what is that? To taste. The urge of the tongue. The tongue is the cause of bondage in this world. And therefore, when we take prasadam, there's a prayer. Mahaprasad, Sharira Avidya Jal. That means this body is a network of ignorance. Avidya Jal, Jada Indriye. That means material senses. Tahe Kal, Jive Fele Vishaya Sagare. That means the living entity Jiva, Jive Fele Vishaya Sagare. He has put in this ocean of senses. Vishaya Sagare. It's an ocean of sense objects. Tara Madhya Jiva Ati, amongst which tongue is the strongest. And lobo moi sudharmati. So therefore, he has made the life of a jiva, of a living entity, so difficult. Thake jeta kathin samsare, but there's a hope. Krishna bada dayamoy. Krishna is very merciful. Karibare jiva jai, sab prasadam nadilo bai. Why? Because he gives his own remnants as prasadam, by taking which our tongue comes under control. Therefore, eating anything and everything, crawling, moving, walking, flying, eat, isn't it? Today, what if you want to create a new cuisine, everything is already done. Someone is doing something, so then you create cockroach masala, something like that. Yeah, you just whatever new something you find out, put it in the plate. So therefore, for the devotees as Vaishnavas, we only take yagna shishta. Yagna shishta means remnants from the sacrifice. Whatever is offered to Krishna, we honor. Because food, what we eat, has three components. First, nourishes the body. Food, anna turns into blood, and blood turns into flesh, and like that. Finally, the 7 stages mentioned in Ayurveda, which nourishes the body basically, what you eat. And then another portion of the food comes out as excreta, as stool. And third portion of the food, which is most important, it nourishes consciousness of the living entity. You are what you eat. Have you heard this before? You are what you eat. That means if we are eating flesh, that means our mindset becomes like that, very violent, very uncompassionate, very heartless, hard-hearted. But we eat sattvic ahar, then our mind also becomes like that, sensitive. Atmavat sarvabhuteshu. You want to treat others how you want to be treated. You can understand subtle subject matter, spiritual subject matter, because you are what you eat. Therefore, the jivva vegam has to be controlled. And therefore, if anyone wants the mind to be free from sex desire, it is said, first you have to control the tongue. The first aspect of lust is voracious eating. Eating very opulent, sorry, not prasadam, you can eat prasadam. For now, you can eat prasadam, whatever you want. But very opulent food. Thick rabdi with hot jalebis and gulab jamun and ice cream on top, and my God, immediately it affects the senses. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that jiva and the belly, jiva puts pressure on the belly. How many of you experienced that? Yeah, you eat too much, it puts pressure on the belly. Belly puts pressure on the genitals. There are three in the straight line. So if one wants to control sex desire, first one has to control the tongue. I'm openly speaking this because today's m- main distraction for anyone today is on the sexual platform. So therefore, I'm saying it directly. Mm. So therefore, yogi controls this urge of jivva, the tongue. Very easy to control. Just take Krishna Prasad. Consciousness is nourished, and take how much you can digest. Mm. Energy is how. What is the definition of energy in physics? We study. Okay, okay. The nature of energy. Definition is you define energy as capacity to do work, isn't it? Remember, 8th standard, I think. Energy is the capacity to do work. Today, people eat and sleep, isn't it? And if you look at medical research, all kinds of insulin spike and diabetes and this and that, it's mainly because people eat like anything and sleep after that. Worst. We only have to eat according to our nature of work. For example, now I mostly sit and you know speak. Not much of, maybe all of you have. I mean, a computer science engineer, you will also have same lifestyle as me, sitting and working in one place. It's almost the same. Yeah. So then I only take very light prasadam. Why? Because I can digest. I don't have to sleep after that. I'm energized to do work. But when after eating, immediately sleeping, everything is stored as fat. People become very fatty, and then they run to lose weight. Time you eat, and time is taken when you're eating. A lot of time is wasted because you're choosing in menu. You're going to this restaurant, that restaurant, to this country, that country. So too much time in eating, then body becomes fat. Then what do? Spend time in losing body. What kind of life is this? Isn't it? So therefore, it's like such a waste. Tamaya Kevla. You eat nicely, nice prasadam, Krishna prasadam. You get energy and offer service to Krishna. This is worthwhile. Hmm? So therefore, the Jivva Vegam. Then comes Udara Vegam. Udara Vegam is again of the belly. Control has to be there. According to Ayurveda, the principle is stomach should always be filled 50%, not 100% with food. Like any mixie, if you fill it to the top, will it mix? Very difficult, the overflow. But when we put it in our belly, complete to the full, up to the nose, then where will it digest? It will not digest. It just come out as it is. So therefore, 50%, and then you have 25% water, 25% air. This is a very good combination for digestion. Good ratio. So like that, then stomach will also be peaceful. And then comes Upastha Vegam, means control of the genitals. So no illicit sex means no sex outside marriage or before marriage, and sex only for begetting Krishna conscious children. So when we do this, we will be very happy. It's proven. If you can ask any devotee, they have done it. Any senior devotee. More we live according to the principles of the scriptures, more we lead a happy, peaceful life. Like that. So we'll go to next one. Or can someone read? Who was reading? You're reading? Can I read the purport? Very nice purport.
If one wants to make steady progress on the path of self realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of the genitals, and forces of the tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses and the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. Material desires, when unsatiated, generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes, and the chest become agitated. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up this material body. One who can do this is understood to be self realized and is thus happy in the state of self realization. It is a duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger.
Okay, next. Yontas sukonantara sorry. Yontas sukonantaramas तथांतर ज्योतिरेवयः स योगी ब्रह्म निर्वाणम ब्रह्मभूतोऽधिगच्छति.
One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the supreme and ultimately attains the supreme.
Yeah. His happiness is within. He is active also within. That means his spiritual practice, that's where he's really active and rejoices within. His aim is also inward, totally supreme. Okay. Such a person already considered liberated. लभन्ते ब्रह्मनिर्वाणं ऋषयक्षीणकल्मषाः छिन्नद्वैधायतात्मानः सर्वभूते हिते रताः भूत sorry सर्वभूत हिते रताः. Yeah. Hmm?
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme.
Yeah. So such a person who is liberated, such a person he is beyond dualities of this world. Mhm. And minds are engaged within means always in Krishna consciousness. The minds don't get distracted by Maya. They're busy working for the welfare of all living beings. Mhm. That means if a person is said to be inward, that doesn't mean externally he doesn't do anything. What does he do externally? He serves Krishna and Krishna's parts and parcels. He's performing welfare work. He's connecting other living entities also to Krishna. How? When you go in the street, you chant Hare Krishna loudly. In the trees can hear, the insects can hear, the animals can hear, people also can hear. Isn't it? And then you give a Prabhupada book. Someday they will read. Prabhupada said, my books are like time bomb. One day they'll blast. So just hand it over to the people. Somehow or the other. Christmas gift, New Year gift, my sponsor, I really like you. This is what I want to give you. Whatever. Somehow distribute these books, Prabhupada said. Working for the welfare of other living entities. How many of us really do that? I mean, who else does that in this world? Working for, like sometimes, people would ask me in my interview, computer science days, they would ask, why do you want to, in the interview they ask, why do you want to sit for this position? So I would say because I really want to use my knowledge of computer science to benefit humanity. I really feel computer science is the thing. All blah 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 and all nonsense. I'm sitting for this position because you guys pay very well in this position. This is why I'm sitting in this position. So people are generally like that. Even any kind of position, even sometimes in the company you have a very selfless role. Hmm. Maybe you are worried about company has certain this company invests in some sort of a social project and say you're leading it. So when someone asks you why do you want to lead, you people's very talk very great about themselves, but no one is doing it for free. So scriptures say only the Vaishnavas are paradukka dukhi and parasukha sukhi. It's the nature of the heart. Unless one is a Vaishnava, one is a devotee of Krishna, he cannot think about others' welfare. Or even if he does, it has a huge limit. That means I only think about you, or I can only take care of you maybe at cap $100. For example, I went to Indianapolis and I missed my flight over there, but I usually don't purchase insurance for my flight ticket. Travel as cheap as possible. But then this time I did because I was not very sure of Spirit Airlines. So I even took insurance. So, and sure enough, the flight got cancelled, and on the spot, I had to book another flight, which means super amount of cost. I anyway took the flight, and again I booked insurance because it helped me. So I on the next flight also I booked insurance, and I told the insurance that I missed my flight and I'm supposed to get the money because the next flight what they were offering was too far, like next day night for like a 8-hour layover in Florida and then come the next day. The worst. So I said I need my money back refund. They said yes, and this was I flew on November 15th, which was a Friday, and today is December 15th exact, and till now I've not got my refund. So I was when I was talking to this insurance company. So when they started speaking to me, they were like, "Oh, I'm very sorry to hear of your state and condition, and we are here to do whatever possible, and we're really blah blah blah." And what they said is you can basically claim, even like because my flight got delayed, I had to book another flight which was a couple of hours later. So I purchased some fruits from the airport. But fruits from the airport is also like gold, so costly. So when I purchased these fruits, I claimed for it. I had receipt and I claimed for the fruits. So recently I got one email. They couldn't figure out what is to be done with the remaining refund, like main refund of my airline ticket. But now first mail they sent to me regarding refund is, sorry, we cannot refund your food receipts because our policy is you should have been delayed at least 6 hours, but you were delayed only 2.5 hours. That means with respect to my next flight, and therefore we cannot refund you any of your food receipts, which I think was about less than $30. But they said they cannot refund anything. So I was just thinking, at least they could have confirmed with me, because I don't eat anything and everything. I don't eat at any time. I have specific time. So morning I had taken at 9:30, and now if I'm booking a flight which is 5:30, I'll reach at 7:30, 8 o'clock JFK, and JFK to temple is like another 9 till I'll reach by 9:30, 9:15. So it's like 12-hour gap. So I have to eat something over there. They don't care. Did they ask me, can you explain why you spent? You could have gone back and eaten. Nothing. So to present oneself as a very caring person is not very uncommon. People do that. But who is really caring? Not the insurance company. Such people are called as Vaishnavas. And therefore, people who are really liberated or in a position of liberation, they don't worry about themselves. And this is not artificially done. It's a state of consciousness. They worry or work for others' welfare. And see, Prabhupada is also saying the same thing. First line. Only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. Because Vaishnava doesn't want anything from anyone. I have no give and take from you. Sir, then why are you helping me? Because you're part and parcel of Krishna. Isn't it? So therefore you can depend on such devotees. Okay, so we'll proceed. Kamakrodha vimuktanam yatinam yatachetasa abhito brahma nirvanam vartate viditatmana. Next.
Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self realized, self disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future.
In the very means very quickly abhi aane wala hai aapka liberation. just now coming, as they say. Yeah, abhitaha, assured in the near future. For who? Those people who are ready to put aside their lust, anger, greed, who are ready to put aside their material desires, thinking that, not foolishly thinking that that is the source of my happiness. For such people, and they become self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection. It is not easy. If you want to live these characteristics, you need association of devotees. Only then is it possible. Alone, this is not possible. As much as possible, association of devotees. And association of advanced devotees. Not anyone who wears tilak and kantimala is a devotee. Did you know that? Yeah. Even thief can wear. To learn some lingo of Hare Krishna, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, and wear tilak and this thing and wear some, this is not devotee. Devotee is state of the heart. At the same time, you have to wear tilak and this thing also. So for such people, liberation is about just now coming. There. Okay. Next. स्पर्शान् कृत्वा बहिर्बायां चक्षुश्चैवान्तरे भ्रुवो प्राणापानौ समौ कृत्वा नासाभ्यन्तरचारिणौ यतेन्द्रिया मनोबुद्धिर् मुनिर्मोक्षपरायणः विगतेच्च भयक्रोधो यः सदा मुक्त एव सः. Such a person is Sada Mukta, always liberated. Who? The above. Who follows the above characteristics. Next, who's reading? Yeah.
Shutting out all external senses objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breath within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence. The transcendentalist, aiming at liberation, becomes free from desire, fear, and anger. One who is always in this state is centrally liberated.
So when they talk about, why is Krishna talking about keeping the eyes and vision concentrated in the center of the eyebrows and suspending the inward and outer breath within the nostril? That means merging of apana and prana. Why is he talking about all this? Because here he is talking to Arjuna about Ashtanga Yoga system, attaining perfection through Ashtanga Yoga system. The same thing is even easily attained through Bhakti Yoga system. And for that, reference is 12th chapter. If you read 12th chapter, over there Krishna tells Arjuna, there are two kinds of transcendentalists, personalist and impersonalist. One is very difficult, personalist is very easy. And personalists are very dear to me. Easy and dear to Krishna, isn't it? So therefore, we don't have to worry so much about suspending the inner and outer breath and choke oneself and suffocate and die. We just breathe normally, but chant Hare Krishna. Okay, now we are coming to the last verse of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? And this was the verse of discussion. Till now it was introduction. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Yatva Mam Shantamichyati. Please read.
A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries.
Yeah, peace. Actually, we all, if you ask any random person, catch a person and ask him, why are you here? Many times it's prasadam, but many more times it is for peace of mind. People want peace of mind. We have so many even Westerners, they just come into the temple hall, sit, legs folded on the floor, and just close their eyes. They want peace of mind. Mhm. Krishna says in the 2nd chapter, which we've already gone through, he says, Ragadvesha vimuktestu indriyas Vishayan indriyascharan Atma Vishya Videya Atma Prasadam Adhikachati Prasade Sarva Dukkhanam Hanirasopajayate. Then what is it? By prasadam, when you get the mercy of the Lord, prasade sarva dukkhanam han asopajayate, something chetasa hyashu, prasanna chetasa hyashu. That means the mind becomes, the chetasa, the consciousness becomes very prasanna, very happy. Prasanna chetasa hyashu, buddhir paryavatishtate. Intelligence is established by mercy of the Lord. You don't have to worry about the verses I quoted. I'm just quoting for myself. And now he says, Nacha buddhira yuktasya, nacha yuktasya bhavana, nacha bhaveta shantir, ashantasya kuta sukham. We were talking so much about attaining happiness, but Krishna tells in the 2nd chapter, without peace, where is happiness? There is no question of happiness without coming to the platform of peace. So if you draw your y-axis, midpoint is 0, above is positive, below is negative. Materialistic life is in negative axis. To be free from material suffering is coming to the 0. And to then become happy in spiritual life is positive axis. So where are we? Negative? I thought positive. We want to be there, positive. Positive axis. So therefore, first of all, Krishna talks about, he tells Arjuna, without getting the mercy of the Lord, there is no question of peace. Without attaining peace, there is no question of happiness. And this is the peace formula. And this is such an important verse. Srila Prabhupada has quoted this verse one of the most number of times. Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. Here Krishna mentions 3 reasons how you can attain peace. What are the 3 reasons? First of all, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam. That means first we understand for whose pleasure is this whole world meant for? Whose pleasure? Not theoretically. actually. Till the time we think this whole world is meant for my pleasure, the whole, say, Newport Mall was built for my pleasure, Times Square is built for my pleasure, any of the Washington Square Park is built for my pleasure. Till the time we're always seeking and extracting from environment to try to become happy from external objects, we cannot be happy. The first principle, the first point Krishna mentions how to become peaceful is Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. Everything in this world is meant for Krishna's pleasure. And literally it means Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam means he is the beneficiary of all sacrifices. Whatever you do is meant to please him. That is the meaning. If we miss out this, then we cannot be peaceful. Then he says, second point, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Krishna is the CEO, founder, president of all the universes. How many universes are there? How many? Unlimited. Prabhu is calculating. You cannot calculate. In Bhagavatam or somewhere is explained how many universes are there. If you take a sack, like a potato sack, and fill it up with mustard seeds, how many mustard seeds are there? Uncountable. Similarly, you have innumerable, infinite number of universes, and Krishna is the CEO, founder, president of all of them. Akhilanda Koti, Brahmanda Nayaka. Second point. It's not just Krishna's position. And third also is Krishna's position, but this is very relevant. Third, Krishna says, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. I am most dear, most well-wisher of all living entities. Let's put away Sarva Bhutanam. All living entities means Krishna has a personal one-to-one relationship with each one of us. So he's saying, I am your personal well-wisher. So that, because people in this world, we want big contacts, isn't it? We want to be connected to a CEO, we want to be connected to someone who can easily give you a green card, or some big politician who can give you a medical seat. So we want to be connected to big people. We don't want to, I mean, we are also okay with small people, but more our phone has more value to the degree of what level of contacts you have, isn't it? And that's how we are working towards. For contact of an actor, Prabhu, I met an actor that day. Once I met in Dubai airport, I met Shreya Ghoshal. And people were so thrilled to hear, isn't it? Because big contact. She didn't give us anything. She only gave a photo with us. So people want big contacts. Why? Because possibly they can do something for us, but they don't do anything. So Krishna says, I am a big contact. He's the biggest contact. Because Bhoktaram Megatapasam, all sacrifices in the 14 planet systems, if Indra does sacrifice, is for Vishnu. If we do sacrifice yajna, it's for Vishnu. Whatever we do, for Vishnu. Bhoktaram Megatapasam. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He has everything under his control. Everything runs by his energy. So he's no ordinary person. So Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. But third one is very touching to the heart. That is Suhritam Sarvabhutana. But this big contact cares about you. Not like other contacts of this world. This contact actually cares about you. In Sanskrit, there are various words for the word friend. Like Mitra, you have Sakha, you have what else you have? Bandhu. Very good. There are many words are there. But the most intimate type of relationship of friendship, especially, but the most intimate friendship, the word used is Suhrit. Hrit means of the heart. Su is always like a double positive, like very. Sudurlabha means very rare. So therefore, Suhrit means dearmost friend of yours. That is Krishna. So what is Krishna's position? Bhoktaram Megatapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. If you understand this, Krishna says, is telling Arjuna, if you understand this, my dear Arjuna, Yatva Mam Shantim Richati. So therefore, if you know this, if you know me like this, with these 3 points, you will attain peace. A disaster is going through your life, but you know Krishna is in control. And Krishna is not inimical to you. That's also important. Not just that he is in control, he is in control, and plus he is ever well-wisher, dearmost to your heart. He really cares about you. How can you not be peaceful? Isn't it? In my Amazon interview, many people were sitting, and I mean, this is my practical application of this verse, and all were like better pointer than me, and I was just trying everything, just sitting for at least for the experience. So I just sat, and I qualified for the final round, and it was like 11 p.m., 10:30 p.m., 11 p.m., and there were rounds were still going on. So I thought, what should I do? Preparation तो हो गया है, और क्या कितना prepare करेंगे? How much will prepare? So I was just sitting and going to Gita, and Krishna interestingly made me go to this particular verse. So I had a pocket Gita or something. So I opened, came in front of me was 529, peace formula. Before that, I was so agitated. क्या होगा? This everyone is better than me here, and a lot of mental agitation. But when I read this verse, that Krishna is everything belongs to Krishna, everything is meant for his enjoyment, and Krishna is my ever most dearmost ever well wisher. He's always there to take care of me. I felt some surge of confidence in my heart that I just felt whatever happens, it's okay. Once I felt that, when I went inside for the interview, I was as cool as anything. Probably the interviewers were more tense than me. Why is this guy so cool? I mean, so they were asking questions, and God's grace, whatever questions I had prepared, same questions came. So I didn't even have to break my head. Ditto, I could bring it down from my memory. And in some time, they announced that I also, made it into Amazon. Not a great thing. Making into ISKCON is much better. But I could really feel that I had no tension at all. Sometimes in exams we cannot focus because the mind is so stressed, but there was no stress. There was no tension, no stress, no anxiety, just because Krishna made me come across this verse when I opened the Gita. Bhoktaram yagitapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhritam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantam richati. Became so peaceful. Say, for example, this was a positive turnout, and say, on the other hand, hypothetically speaking, I did not get the job, then what would have happened? You can say, Prabhu, now we caught you. Then you would have cried. No, not really, because I know everything is Krishna's control. He did not want me to get the job. Because I know he's in control, I understand he has something better for me. Isn't it? So, therefore, Krishna is telling Arjuna, don't worry. Just in every chapter, Krishna tells this. He gives all these tough things, like keep your inward breath, outward breath in the middle of the nostril, and focus your eyes on the middle of the eyebrows. But finally, Krishna says, don't worry. Suhridam sarvabhutana. Yatma mam shantim. Just know me, you'll attain peace. This is what he does in every chapter. So therefore, peace formula in world, across the world today, so many things are going on, from South Korea to Syria to Israel, Palestine to Russia, Ukraine to what else, our Bangladesh, isn't it? To Brian Thompson being killed, shooting. And sometimes we feel, okay, it's just a phase going on. One day will come where there will not be any problem. Really? When people, fight for independence of the country, they always feel after independence will be peaceful. Isn't it? Maybe not this year, 1 year later. Maybe the 2 years later, maybe 10 years later. In COVID, everyone's thinking after COVID, we all will be peaceful. Not really. Basically, this material world is a place of unrest. Today, there's wars being waged in one aspect of the world, one part of the world. Tomorrow, there'll be wars in another part of the world. You know what? Maybe there'll be another Pakistan-India war. Is there any guarantee it won't happen? No. So therefore, when we understand this material world is always a problematic situation. Prabhupada said, danger must be there because you have put yourself in a dangerous position. So we have put ourselves here, and naturally unrest will always be there. Only news keeps changing and everything, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. It's useless because it's nothing new. This is what we expect from the material world. Actually, if material world becomes so peaceful, then someone will get agitated and do something crazy because something abnormal, isn't it? Because material world is based on passion ignorance. No one can keep quiet. Something has to be going on. Some fun should be going on. Some killing, some overthrowing. You know, this is how people are. So therefore, if you really want to attain peace, we have to know Krishna. Know Krishna with respect to these 3 points. He is the beneficiary of all sacrifices. He is the president, CEO, founder of all universes, and he is the he's the dearmost, ever well-wishing friend of all of us. Then we attain peace. So we will pause here. 8:6. Actually, each one of these verses which we discussed, there's so many points to discuss, but I wanted to complete this chapter today. And we'll pause here, maybe a couple of minutes. We can take questions if anyone has any. Yes, Prabhu.
In the past, I've kind of struggled with like building the tolerance to for against desires. Basically, like I have that similar inclination, like for good food usually, like especially if I've stayed for a long time, I feel like what I deserve something nice, so that I can eat something nice and I can continue studying. But then sometimes what happens is if I tolerate a desire like that the amount of effort required to like to have something that's less appetizing kind of makes me less inclined to tolerate a desire in the future, because I know how painful it was
Right.
before. So
Yeah.
like I'm just less inclined to do that in the past. So similar examples like that in other things, but this is just one food example that I'm putting. That how do you kind of
Correct.
build that strength
Tolerant.
to kind of to build up
Very good
tolerance
question.
instead of
Actually, in the spiritual circle, how Krishna expects Arjuna to tolerate, not suppressing desire. There's something called as suppressing desire, and there's another thing called as sublimating the desire. Sublimating means it just vanishes, whereas suppressing means it's like you're taking a box and forcing it in and trying to put it, but it's just coming out, and so it's a very ugly situation. So what Krishna tells Arjuna is he's inspiring Arjuna to tolerate lower things because you're going to get higher things. Mm. And the process of bhakti and the goal of bhakti, they're one and the same. So how much joy one gets when one reaches the end of bhakti? I mean, there's the end of bhakti, as in end of the process, when one reaches the goal, love of God. Almost similar amount of happiness one experiences in the journey of bhakti. Mm. So therefore, bhakti is called as absolute. In this world, if the goal is different, means are different. Means are very tough. Goal is nice, isn't it? But bhakti is not like that. Krishna tells Arjuna, it is so sukham kartum avyam. Very joyously performed. Like evening arti we had today, isn't it? Gaur arti. We're all dancing and chanting. When you become happy, what do? Chant and not chant. Sorry, you sing and dance, isn't it? That's what we do every day. This is bhakti. This is the process, and we take nice prasadam. Only thing is, take according to how much you digest. That is the thing. But we take nice prasadam. We sing and dance. We have association of like-minded people. Not people who can degrade our character, and we are all struggling together. So it's a very nice experience, isn't it? So therefore, when we have these things, then to give up something low is not very difficult. So therefore, tolerance becomes easy. But naturally, we also have to tolerate. Especially when I'm in saffron, I have to tolerate so many things. But I know with my other brahmachari friends and with my spiritual practices, it becomes easy. Yeah.
having a strong foundation that doesn't become as big of a deal anymore.
Yes, yes. So if anything becomes too difficult to tolerate, that means you have to take yourself consciousness to a next level. From next level, these things become easier to tolerate. Hmm? Or if some things are like if someone is smoking 100 cigarettes a day, you tell him, Prabhuji, today I heard no smoking. Then he'll say, I cannot give up cigarette, I'll give up you. Isn't it? It's easy to give you up instead of cigarettes. So what we tell him is, okay, don't do 100 cigarettes a day, do only 50 a day. That's easier. So we can break it down to eventually come to the platform of that level of tolerance. That also we can do. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, Prabhu.
So we know that Krishna is the Bhokta, everything is for the pleasure of him. But as a devotee, since we are trying to balance material and spiritual life with Krishna in the center and with the four regulative principles, is it wrong to take pleasure in the smaller things, material things?
Actually, smaller material things. Okay. That was a twist in the tail. Yes, taking pleasure in small things, yeah, you can always say how Krishna is so merciful. But smaller material things means, how I understand it is you're asking, is it wrong to take pleasure in mm, um, without Krishna, the same thing which you might feel good. For example, let me give you an example. You know the drone bee, which can drill through a bark of a tree, because it gets attracted to the scent of a lotus and just becomes intoxicated and mesmerized, just lays down in the lotus and becomes so weak that the lotus, due to with the sunset, as it folds its petals, it has no strength to drill through even a petal of that lotus. And in the morning, when the lotus opens up, there's so many drone bees dead inside. So, feeling good, we don't say feeling good is wrong, but it doesn't necessarily have to be right. So, what if that feeling good is taking you in such a position, is entrapping you? That's when the real questioning comes. Otherwise, feeling good is not a problem. But the very fact you use the word material, that means forgetful of Krishna. So that feeling good will keep you here. You will feel good so that you will feel bad later, or you will feel bad to feel good later, which is better, isn't it? So therefore, feeling good is not wrong. But at the same time, you want to see that your conscious is also Krishna conscious. Actually, when we add Krishna to the things we do, it becomes more joyous. Like now, when I go, we were doing book distribution last 3 days, going to different restaurants in Jackson Heights. People are eating all kinds of meat. I was thinking, I mean, what kind of life is this? So hellish. They. I don't want to mention what was there on the menu card. And what kind of life is this? You come to a Sunday feast, take prasadam with us daily here. How nice it is. So now, if someone says, it's okay, 5 days or 6 days a week, I will take nice prasadam at the temple. But one day, goat खाना पड़ेगा. Someone says, for example, I mean, why would you do that? Isn't it? So anything forgetful of Krishna, it becomes like something which is not very nice. Actually, if you add Krishna to anything, it becomes more flavorful. I'm pretty sure you like more flavors, right? So when you add Krishna, he's Akila Rasamrita Murti. That means all kinds of flavors, all kinds of colors, all kinds of freshness is there in Krishna. He's embodiment of all of that. When you take out Krishna from something, everything becomes stale. Like a flower is blossoming because there's life. Take out life, it falls down. Now, will you offer fallen flower or dead flower to a girlfriend? No, she will not. She'll reject the flower and you. Isn't it? Like that. So anything you add Krishna, Krishna is a dynamic principle. Is that okay, Prabhu? Anything else? Anyone has anything? Yes.
I have a question. I was reading this non-fiction book, and he talks about thoughts and thinking, and says thoughts come from the universal supreme power,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking is done by us to sabotage ourselves. Like, what are your views on that? Do thoughts come from Krishna? Can you share a lot of thoughts in our mind?
Actually, thoughts are there because of our previous experiences stored in the mind. Thoughts come. For example, when you dream, Prabhupada gives this example. You came when you're driving, you saw a mountain and you saw some gold. In the dream, you will see a golden mountain. It's a thought in the dream. So that's basically a combination of all the other experiences you have had during the day or in the past. So like the different thoughts are coming. That's all just in the mind on account of past experience. That's how it is working.
So Krishna has no role in our thoughts, the random thoughts which come up in our mind.
Oh, unless you're a pure devotee, yeah. But otherwise, Krishna doesn't interfere with the living entity. In the previous chapter, I think it was covered. Krishna says, Namam karmani limpanti. I have nothing to do with work. I have nothing to do with the material world. I have nothing to do with the karma of the living entities. They are on their own, they're acting on their own, suffering on their own. But if someone turns to me, then I am fully for them. Otherwise, samoham sarvabhuteshu. I am equal to all. Just like a judge or a witness. He just sees everything. He only acts when you turn to him. Krishna doesn't. Krishna doesn't mess around with living entities, like small children, evil minded with horns. They are taking pin and poking the ants, putting water here and trapping him. He's not like that. He's not a sadist. Yeah, yeah. Be careful when you read all these books, because um, they'll destroy your right understanding of Krishna, which you get from these classes. So these people may not be. We don't know what is their background, isn't it? Be a little careful. Take it with a grain of salt. Yes. Varun.
Yeah, in last verses you told that any contact between sense and sense object births the desires as well as the thoughts, right?
Correct.
That can be said here as well. That the
Yes.
thoughts are coming from those
Correct.
instead of like not from Krishna.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. So we'll stop here. We'll pause here. And it's 8:15. Prasad ji? Yeah? So, okay. That's what I'm thinking. 8:15. Maybe we can chant 5 minutes. Okay. Prasad is anyway secured, so no problem. We'll chant together. We'll pause this. So thank you very much. And you have B.